everyone, it's your girl Jay, and welcome to my recap of my experience at BTS's 2017 Wings tour. So you're probably wondering, why did this take so long? Because I actually went the first day of New York, but I wanted to try to do the experience video with my friend Jazz. She came with me. Some of you guys might know her from this channel, but we couldn't link up, so I decided to just do it by myself before it fades in my memory or whatever. And I might recap it on the podcast. So just so everyone's clear, this is my experience. If you're looking for a lot of fan cams and things like that, unfortunately this video won't be it. I did not do my research, fam, and unfortunately I didn't know that you were actually allowed to have cameras as long as they weren't professional in the venue. There was a situation that I had when I went to the Prudential Center for a concert a while back, where I had to learn the hard way that not everyone likes cameras. But in this case, it was fine. So the only thing I had to record was my iPod, this hunk of junk, because I don't have a smartphone, which this clearly got filled up like fast. I used up all my space fast, so I only got like 10 minutes of video, but I'll try my best to like detail it. So people who just want details of how the boys were on stage and my personal experience, stay tuned. I do have a little bit and I'll sprinkle it, but I don't have that much. So yes, after being a fan since July of 2015, I finally got to see my boys in concert. That's a lie. I actually saw them at KCON. However, at KCON, my seats were like on the roof. I couldn't even see anything. So this is more of a situation. Even though at KCON I also saw them up close during the red carpet. Okay, maybe I'm being dramatic. I finally got to see a full BTS concert, let's put it that way, for the first time, and I was so excited. Ever since I bought the tickets, I've been super hype about this, and it was actually a very interesting experience because my whole day leading up to the concert was garbage. It was super stressful. Everything was going wrong, and that day was in such shambles that like it almost resulted in me not being able to go to the concert. And that brings me to my next point. When I got there, oh my God, like so many of you guys came up to me and I was like, holy crap, how do you know me? I'm nobody. And said like, hi, and took pictures and stuff. So that made me really shook. But if I was like kind of out of it when I saw you guys, please forgive me. That was why I didn't even expect to be like an hour, like 2 hours maybe. Prior to that, I thought I wasn't even gonna make it. So I was just really shook and happy to be there. But basically I took my train down to New York and went like beelined it for the venue because I was kind of like, I think I came around like 7:30 with my friend Jazz. And so for the most part, it was like, even before the concert started, I was in like such a weird like spirit. Like I was super happy, especially just being among so many ARMYs, since BTS is one of my fave groups. Like it was just so fun singing along to the MVs that were playing before the show started with everyone. And I just felt like, I don't know, like at home. It's a weird situation. But I was also really just nervous because I just didn't know how I would react to seeing them live. Them performing like my favorite songs from Wings and things like that. And thanks to Jazz, we got pretty, like we were P2, and there was like 2 stages. There was the regular stage and then there was the extended stage. And while we were still a ways away from the extended stage, like the main stage, the extended stage like would put us like right there next to them. So I was nervous of them coming out of there, just seeing them up close. Like I really didn't know. Like I remember Jazz was like, oh, want to get something to eat? And I was like, I can't even, because I might throw up. Like that's how nervous I was. There was a project, I don't know if a lot of you guys saw pictures, but there was this whole project where the crowd covered their light bombs in these colored plastic bags and lit up the sky. So as soon as we got there, the girl sitting next to me was like, did you guys get your plastic bag, your colored plastic bag for the project? And I was like, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. So she just gives me this blue plastic bag, says, put it over your ARMY bomb when they do Spring Day. And I was like, sure, okay, I didn't even know. But yeah, so I'm really impressed that project went so well, because I'm like, you know, for me, they just threw it out. But how did they distribute all of these plastic bags and to the right, like to the people in the right sections, like that just was crazy to me, and I was just like so impressed. So in the very beginning, they did play like a couple VCRs, and they had a couple VCRs scattered throughout. Literally, not even to be dramatic, but like submit those to Sundance Big Hit, because those were like so well done, so prettily shot. Like I was just like, it was so, like the boys were just, they looked so nice. And especially at the one, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there was this one at the very like tail end before they did their last couple songs. It was so beautiful. Like it just was so beautiful. Everything that was so beautiful. So yes, after this big dramatic, you know, intro, the boys come out, and the first song they do is Not Today. This is it, oh my God. And then like, lo and behold, they start performing Not Today, and I'm dying because y'all know how much I love Sugar. And so he was the first thing I heard. So surreal because, you know, I've seen like their Inkigayo and music show performances of this for 1,000 times. So seeing it live, it was like the fact that same energy. I just vividly remember seeing V dancing during the No Not Today and being like, this boy is moving at the speed of light. Like, what is even going on? I was just so mesmerized, and they're just such good performance. So then after that, they moved into doing their introductions.
And to the husband guys. Hello, Auntie. What's up? Nice to meet you guys. Thank you. Hey, what's poppin'? I'm your home. I'm your angel. I'm Jay Home.
I'm not, let's go, let's see. Each being more extra than the other.
Thank you! Make some noise!
It's always so like adorable seeing them speak English and, you know, doing their best to like communicate with their English speaking fans. But this is when this part kind of set the mood. J-Hope had me snatched. Like, he was just like, I don't think J-Hope knows the concept of being tired, because he just seemed 100% on, always smiling, like happy to, not to say that the others weren't, but he was just particularly standing out to me in terms of energy, hypeness, just like enthusiasm. Like it was almost inspiring. I was like, I wish I did anything that I do in my life with that enthusiasm. But he just had me shook, and he's literally so handsome. Like I really can't. But he was just so hype in the introductions, and it really just I was just so happy for the whole time. And then they proceeded to do bop after bop after bop after bop. They did Not Today, Am I Wrong, which is probably one of my favorite songs from Wings, Bep Say, and Dope. Just like bam, 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 bam. Are you serious? Are you trying to kill me? Like, I feel so sorry for Jazz, because every time I was hype, I was just like, Jazz, Jazz. Like, she was right behind me, so I was like, Jazz, Jazz. So she was probably dead through that whole entire segment just because of my hypeness. But I was like, y'all really out here trying to kill me. And then they got into, I think, what everyone was really, really looking forward to, which were the solos. They started off with Jungkook doing Begin. Then they moved on to Jimin's Live. And literally, like, this, he's a goddess. Can he be a goddess? Like, the way he moves, how is that? How your body do that though? Like, how, G-Man? How are you just, literally, the choreography is so beautiful, and when he does it, it's just like, oh my, like, art. He is art in motion. How is this like? And then Suga did his first Love solo, and tell me how, like, okay, so Suga, my number one bae. So when, like, that solo, just him being my bias and me like really just enjoying like him from an artist standpoint. This has been like a song that like just on repeat. So just seeing him just like sit there and pour his heart out on stage, I wanted to film, because I think at that point I still had space left in my iPod, but I just couldn't bring myself to film. Like, I just had to watch him. And Jazz will tell you, like during like during Begin, during Live, during all the songs, I would just be like twerking and stuff like that. But like, I was completely still the whole entire performance, because I was like, I just can't miss a moment. Like, I've been waiting for this so long, and he killed it. And then it threw me for a loop, because I thought they were gonna go on to like do all the solos, but then they snuck in Lost. Really had me shook, because this was the first time they came to the extended stage. So I'm literally just like, oh, like, I'm like, oh, there, right there, you guys, there you are, just all of you looking so good. And in this particularly, like, I couldn't keep my eyes off of V. He's so freaking handsome. And then they all came out and they did Save Me and I Need You. I love the Save Me choreo. Like, that's one of my favorite choreographies when it comes to BTS. So I was just so excited to see it live, especially during the breakdown. Oh, the breakdown, like, and J-Hope's part. Oh, I got so hyped. That is literally my favorite thing, my favorite rap part ever. Like, I love that part so much, so I was so hyped. And then they went back to the solos, Rap Monster, V, Stigma, and then J-Hope did Mama. And so Mama was also one of the fan cams that I did see prior to going to the Wings tour, and just because so many people were hyping it up and it was so emotional, and I love Mama just for the message. It reminds me a lot of Kanye West's Mama song, like in the same sentiment, and they like make me feel really emotional. So I was really excited, and this is one of those times where I was just like, wow, J-Hope is just, he was really just born to perform, because every single moment I was on the tip of my seat, and I was like, hey, Mama, yes, King, hit those 1, 2, like in the whole time. And then at the very end, where like it becomes kind of like a church, they even had like this glass pane backdrop to like kind of like, you know, he took us to church for a second. He was just like dancing, giving his all. I was like, I love this performance so much. And then Jin came through with the ballad. He slowed things down. He was like, we're gonna slow it down. We're gonna slow it down. And he did his ballad, Awake. And once again, I was just super mesmerized and just absorbed. I did twerk a little because I'm a mess. But the whole time I was just like, Jin, give us these vocals, like let us hear you the whole time. And then literally the performance I've been waiting for my whole life, because Cypher, I'm just gonna say it, Cypher is my favorite song for Wings. That I can listen to that like when I first heard that, I literally listened to that 17,000 times before moving on to any other song, because it's my favorite Cypher. I love the sound, I love the beat, I love the style of rap. Everything is just so perfect. And once again, they came out of the front, they were on the extended stage, came out of the ground with their Hugh Hefner-esque robes. I was just like, wow, I'm just really, like, I begged Jasmine to film it for me, because I was like, I was probably out of battery by the, I actually was. That was when I ran out of space on my iPod. So I was like, Jasmine, please film this. I just need this in my life. And she was like, okay, fine. And I was just, the whole time I was screaming. When J-Hope's rap verse came on, I damn near toppled out of my seat. And then when Sugar came through, this man, breathing is an option for him, because literally he was just going through the click clack to the bang bang. Like, are you kidding me? I don't think he actually breathes. He doesn't need to breathe, because he just did those verses so quickly. And when it was over, I was like, encore. Because I was like, we need to actually hear Cypher 17 more times for me to be satisfied. Under the rap lines like cloaks and Jack Velvet cloaks and stuff, they had these red like jumpsuit outfit thingies. So they changed into those, and then everyone else came back and they did Fire. And then they did this medley of all their old bops, and it kind of made me sad that I found out about BTS literally like days after, or maybe a month or so after, or just a while after their tickets sold out for their tour back in 2015. So like I kind of, you know, it kind of gets hard when you grow, when you get more songs, because there's some songs that you have to choose to swipe out that you probably won't ever really perform again, just because you can only do so many songs in a concert. So it was kind of sad to see some of my favorite BTS oldies like Just One Day or Blanket Kick not be performed at all, and then in the cases of these other old songs be like a truncated version. But I was still very happy with what we got, them just going. It was a whole issue. They didn't perform War on Hormones, because apparently there was a bit of a controversy with that. In terms of some people were saying is misogynistic, but I really like that song, so I was like, man, that sucks. And then they went into the female empowerment anthem, 21st Century Girl. This was my favorite thing to watch. Fan cams of this was my favorite thing to watch when they came back with Wings, like when they first came out with Wings. So once again, seeing it live has me shiggity shook. During the medley and during this, my eyes were just glued to J-Hope, and I felt like such a flop Sugar stan, but I just could not keep my eyes away from him. Like, so imagine how just how it was just hyperventilating when then it went on to him performing the solo intro Boy Meets Evil from Wings. The part where he lifts up his legs and claps, that still has me, ever since I saw that, I was like, how do you not just fall down and die during that? Like, how do you stand up? And then he did it in front of me and I was like, wow, this is witchcraft. You are a wizard. Like, I was just so confused, but I was so excited. Started to get near the end of the concert. They did, of course, Blood, Sweat, Tears, and then they did the outro. Watching them perform the outro got me so sad. And kind of during the concert, I had this weird feeling of hype and being happy and being excited and just sadness on the fact that, you know, this was gonna come to an end at some point. Like, it was such a weird feeling, but as like we moved through the concert, I got more and more excited, but also more and more sad because I was like, once this is done, it's done. And then they go off to their next, well, they do the next day, which I wasn't coming the next day. And then they go off to the next stop. And I was like, I don't want this to ever end. So when it got to the Wings outro, I thought that was legitimately the end. Because I think Rat Monster had said it was the end at some point. So I was like, no. But I kind of knew it wasn't the end because I knew they had to perform Spring Day. So I was like, okay, I don't know why he's saying that, but sure. But just watching them, they looked like they were having a blast on stage. I love the performances when they're not tied down to choreo and they're just kind of like having fun on stage and interacting with the pit and things like that. And then they had this cute segment where it was like they all kind of came, like it was like kind of like a Soul Train line. They came out and danced and that was so precious. I believe at this point they went out. I might be misremembering. This is when I think people started to prepare for the project, the Rainbow Project. And it was so funny because we were just kind of waiting there and I was like, maybe Rat Monster wasn't playing. Maybe he was like, get the heck out of here. Like, it's over. But I just remember sitting there and be like, Jazz, like, are they ever gonna come back out? But then they came back. They did their fan song Dual Set, which was like super emotional, especially with the lights and everything. And then they ended with Spring Day. I think somewhere in between that, they talked to us again, and Rat Monster, I think before they performed the fan song, Rat Monster talked, and I specifically remember what Rat Monster said, because some stuff I couldn't really get, but with Rat Monster, he talked about like their Billboard achievements and how he was so happy that Army helped them with that, like US Army, and how like the light, the Rainbow Project was so gorgeous and things like that. But yeah, then they performed Spring Day, gorgeous of course. And then they, at the end, they kind of, it was like the encore or whatever, so they kind of stayed on stage. People from the pit started throwing plushies up, which was so freaking cute. And then somebody gave Jungkook an American flag and he like kind of wrapped it around and like ran around stage. And it was actually really funny because there was one point, I don't know if it was at this end or during Wings or something, but there was at one point where J-Hope was walking on the left side of the stage, and then he's like looking at the pit, and then at one point he like points to somebody and he's like, I know you. And I'm like, that is Dre. That is where Dre is. Dre just got noticed. I knew Dre was coming on one of the New York dates, but I hadn't even thought what day he was coming. But at that moment, I was like, Dre's here. That's where he is. He just got noticed from J-Hope. And I was like, yo, his recap video is about to be so lit. But other than that, I don't know. It was just such a great experience. And like, if I could, I would honestly try to go to the Anaheim one. And I would have gotten 2 days if I would have known I would have been this sad after it ended and so like eager to see them again. But honestly, if I could just go over to that Anaheim show, I totally would, because it's just so worth seeing them. They just have so much energy. One of my favorite artists right now, so it was definitely a dream come true to see them live. Other than that, like as soon as it wrapped up, I basically had to go home because I had work the next day. But gosh, that whole night I was just replaying everything in my mind and trying so desperately hard to keep the memories as fresh and as vivid and as accurate as I recalled them as they were happening, or I remember them as they were happening. And I don't know, it was just, you know, thank you BTS, I don't know. My only sad thing is that if they're doing this tour, they're probably not coming to KCON, which would be my chance to see them again soon. but it was just totally worth it. And I hope everyone else who's going on any other stops of the tour, savor this moment, cherish it, like have fun, have as much fun as possible. So that's it for my recap. Well, if you guys went, tell me about your experiences. Let's get the conversation started in the chat and see you guys next time. Bye.